There's a good chance that Scarlett Johansson is going to be in the biggest film of the year, Jurassic World Rebirth, for as much as I'm not looking forward to it. Very much, it has all of the hallmarks of being a billion-dollar hit. I mean, like, outside of some animated fare, they just could completely do gangbusters at the box office. Like, the one film that you can look at on the release schedule that is just destined for greatness in ticket sales alone, I bet you the script is going to be a total disaster, but it's going to be the dinosaur movie, because okay, for as much as people have nostalgic feelings about the original Jurassic Park, that shit was a long time ago. But given that franchise, and no, I'm not talking about the source material, okay, the Michael Crichton book from, I don't even know when the original was written, but in a cinematic setting, the Jurassic World Park, whatever you want to call it, franchise at large, has had the purchase over dinosaur films for just a baffling reason. Like, I don't know why anybody else hasn't been able to crack the formula on that, because it's not really that difficult when you have to rope in murder hornets and a gun that shoots a laser that when it's pointed at you directs an attack pack of velociraptors. Like, if you have to go to those lengths, I mean, somebody's got to be able to do this better. But in talking about the film and the weird way that studios are trying to promote their releases, ScarJo ends up bringing back the curtain a little bit on why Hollywood is just so lost. And while there really is this perception that there really aren't any movie stars anymore, like, Johansson has definitely been grandfathered in from a bygone era. She is one of the very few that are still left standing that are actually known as actors and actresses, that are a bankable commodity, that are so much bigger than one individual role. And so when she talks, people tend to listen, okay? So Scarlett Johansson turned down studios' request to join Instagram for Jurassic World publicity. It's funny, you'll turn that down, but you wouldn't turn down the opportunity for the super cringy Avengers and not Avengers Assemble Zoom call for Kamala Harris. Interesting. Says Black Widow is dead, but Marvel fans don't want to believe it. Yeah, that's kind of hilarious, right? For all of the key jangles that they can make for Avengers Doomsday, you're not going to be getting Black Widow back, huh? You might get Thor. You're probably going to be getting Captain America. Well, the proper Captain America, Chris Evans Captain America, because, you know, Scarlett Johansson's a movie star. Chris Evans isn't. But it's not going to be the Steve Rogers you remember. It's definitely going to be the one who's going to introduce himself, and he's going to look a little bit off, and the moment he cracks open his yap, he's going to be saying, "Hail Hydra." Yeah, it's going to be Nazi Cap. You better well believe that. But not seeing Black Widow this time around. Like, I mean, you got the charismatic Yelena played by little Florence. Pew! But the moment that the Thunderbolts bombs into oblivion, you bet that Brinks truck is going to be pulling up to the Johansson residence. And Colin Jost is probably going to answer the front door in the little French maid outfit. God damn it, man. Anyways, Scarlett Johansson is one of the rare Hollywood A-listers not to have a social media footprint on major platforms like X and Instagram. And it doesn't seem like that's about to change. Speaking to InStyle magazine about a new cover story, the Oscar nominee revealed that her Jurassic World Rebirth studio recently asked her about whether or not she would join Instagram to help promote the summer blockbuster. She's just not interested. I mean, even today, I got an email from Universal, and they're like, "Hey, would you consider joining Instagram in tandem with the release of Jurassic World Rebirth?" Ugh. If it's that sterile, I'd be like, nah, just on the premise of it. Johansson said, "I get a lot of pressure to join social media. It does make me think, is there a way where I could do this and stay true to who I am? I didn't feel like I could." And you know what? Hey, good on her for that, okay? For as many stupid celebrities that are online, there are very few that are based or that just have the kind of universal appeal. Now listen, okay, there's several people that go out there and they'll just throw, "Oh my god, the baddie on Instagram, oh, she's a 10, okay, just that's the hottest bitch that's ever walked the face of the earth." To me, I'm a little bit more of a discerning critic. I kind of think in the the pantheon of history, there's only been like 2 prominent women that deserve the perfect 10 accolade. Jennifer Connelly in the early 90s, like that right there is perfection, 1000%, top to bottom. And the other, Scarlett Johansson in the early 2000s, like, bro, just that, all I need to do is say Scarlett Johansson red dress, that immediately conjures an image, and it's like, yeah, no, it's really hard to dispute those facts. But the fact that that's what immediately comes to mind, and also that wonky eye in that picture right there, I just kind of want to get that off screen there for a second because it's kind of throwing me off just a little bit. It's kind of detracting from the statement that I'm trying to make here. But yeah, you have that image in her head. But when I say somebody like Mark Ruffalo, or even at this point in time, Mark Hamill, what comes to mind? Is it Hulk? or is it as overt political activism? There we go. Just did a video about Bobby Kotick and Activision Blizzard not that long ago. You can see that it's currently on the mind. But then when talking about Mark Hamill, does the Force, does Jedi, does even the Joker, if we want to do a little bit of a deeper cut, come to mind, or does terminal diagnosis of TDS, the first thing that comes to mind? Yeah, there used to be a mystique about celebrities, and it sounds like ScarJo understands that as opposed to a lot of her contemporaries. The work that I put out there is all based on truth. That's a key ingredient. So if I was the person who really enjoyed social media, then I could totally get on the bandwagon, but I'm not. I like the film. And I think the film will do fine. Johansson is headlining, yes, a Jurassic World Rebirth alongside Mahershala Ali, which is absolutely hilarious. And the time that it was announced that he was going to be, putting the Blade project on the back burner, they had scripted, shot, edited, produced, and got ready for release a Jurassic World Rebirth in the time that, Disney couldn't figure out that, hey, people like the whole vampire hunter thing, just, get a black guy in the role and have him cut up a bunch of, bloodsuckers. It's pretty simple. Couldn't get that to work, but he can go over there and hop on a dinosaur project in a less amount of time. Okay, but Universal surely has high hopes for the blockbuster, considering each of the previous entries in the Jurassic World trilogy crossed $1 billion. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, a relatively slim Bryce Dallas Howard, kick things off Rebirth, yes, directed by Godzilla and a Rogue One filmmaker Gareth Edwards. It's notable as, yes, this marks the return of screenwriter David Cope, yes, who penned the scripts for Jurassic Park in '93 and The Lost World in '97. So, the hit and miss to say the least. Like, the original is still a classic, and Lost World, all right. The success of Rebirth could also give Johansson yet another mega franchise win with her tenure as Black Widow in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, Johansson, the superhero, was killed off in 2019 Avengers Endgame, and then eventually was resurrected, sort of, kind of, potentially, at least for, 2021's Black Widow. Yeah, how well did that work out for you? And then, yes, went on to headline the prequel movie Black Widow, and marked her last MCU appearance, and Johansson told InStyle it will stay that way, unless, of course, Thunderbolts doesn't do all that well, and Yelena doesn't resonate with the audience as well as, everybody kind of anticipates. So, as she says, right now, it's kind of like how Chris Hemsworth's like, I'll only come back to Thor if the script is good, or Benedict Cumberbatch on the day going, I don't know, maybe I like being Doctor Strange, maybe I don't. Just take a look at Robert Downey Jr. He was casting shade on the MCU until that $100 million paycheck rolled up. Then all of a sudden, he was more than happy to be on stage at Comic-Con. But Natasha is dead. She is dead. She's dead, okay? They just don't want to believe it. Johansson said in the Marvel fans that they're like, but she could come back. A multiverse, baby. Look, I think that there's a balance of the entire universe is held in her hand. We're going to have to let her go. She saved the world. Let her have her hero moment. Well, yeah, Tony Stark had his hero moment, but he's going to be coming back. Isn't that funny? Yay. Jurassic World Rebirth opens in theaters July 2nd. So, okay, the way that the July releases, which are going to be coming fast and furiously, go. On the 2nd, you have Rebirth. The week after that, you have Superman. On the 11th, I think it comes out. Something like that. I'm pretty sure it's the second one. And then you got Fantastic Four First Steps coming out the week after that. It's interesting, right? Because I think Rebirth is absolutely going to steamroll the competition. Depending on word of mouth and depending on the longevity of Rebirth, that could either be a detriment or a benefit for Fantastic Four. But unless James Gunn's Superman, Beyond All Hope, ends up turning things around, that could end up getting squeezed out in competition, and we could end up with a dead DCU once again. I know, stop me if you've heard this before, or even still, like a Fantastic Four. Like, all three of these films are going to have enormous opening weekends. It's just, what are the legs on those films going to be? Because Superman could end up getting squeezed out by those two films, and Fantastic Four could end up benefiting due to it being the third one released. And if people are already tired by Rebirth, not caring, or disappointed by Superman, they could end up taking the cake. And I still think Rebirth is going to be the most profitable and the most successful of those three. But after that, it kind of depends, right? Because maybe this is going to be, once again, hoping beyond all hope, that this ends up being a competent script with good characters, which just sets it leagues above the rest of the Jurassic World films. Like, hopefully it's good. I don't anticipate it being good. And same with Superman. I want it to be really good, but the more that I hear about it, the less I'm excited about it. And then Fantastic Four, Like it's got WandaVision people working on it. Like, why would anybody be excited about that? That and Pedro Pascal. But the reason that I bring all of this up is because somebody, okay, imagine casting, imagine hiring, because I wouldn't imagine, like she's probably not the most expensive quantity out there on the Hollywood strip at this point in time. Like you run the clock back about 10 years and ScarJo's asking price was probably considerably higher than it is right now. But you cast somebody who is at her level, or at least at her perceived level, and you still want her on Instagram to promote your film that is very likely, and it comes from a very long line of incredibly profitable films, you still want her on Instagram. What is that saying about Hollywood in general? Well, it is something that gets elaborated on by the likes of Ethan Hawke, because Ethan Hawke says casting actors based on Instagram followers is crazy. Because that's the way that these studios think now. They are casting people based on Instagram followers. Bruh, there's a reason why this entire industry is cooked. Because the people that are popular on Instagram, and this is something that Myron from Fresh and Fit talked about a whole bunch back when I was watching them a lot more heavy. It's been a minute since I've checked in, but still, this is something that's that I'm not really going to be able to shake. It's like chicks blow up on Instagram, okay, because they have very little creative capacity. They just put on something skimpy, post their ass, and they just immediately get instant gratification for very minimal effort. Those talents, whenever they decide to take them to podcasting or hop on over to YouTube or hell, even to Twitter, because then you have to elaborate a little bit further with your mind in order to get engagement, and a lot of those Instagram thoughts fall flat on their face, but normally it's not flat on their face. Normally something a little bit more plastic and substantive prevents them from, any damaging any of their rhinoplasty. A lot of those chicks that try to make the jump from Instagram to YouTube, I mean, bro, even with shorts, like, they don't last. They don't have any charisma at all. So to hear that Hollywood is going to Instagram to farm out new stars, is like, holy shit. Tell me, how well did that work for Rachel Zegler? And despite you trying to make her a thing, Zendaya's massive Instagram following, how well has that helped her with public perception? I'm just wondering, man. But Ethan Hawke, yeah, he talked about this, and I found it to be very interesting because Ethan Hawke, he's a good-ass actor, okay? It's been a minute since he's been in a film since I've heard about, but yeah, you can't deny that this guy is somewhat of a legend. After his daughter, oh, he's got a daughter. No, he's got a daughter, Maya Hawke, claims some filmmakers are making casting decisions based on actors' social media followings. Ethan Hawke is calling hiring talent based on Instagram fans crazy. It makes sense to them. I don't have to like it, but hey man, understanding what they're trying to do in order to turn a buck and to try to be more profitable, I mean, it makes sense, even though it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Earlier this month, Maya went viral when she appeared on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast and said that she was told that the number of people following an actor or lack thereof could impact whether a film project got made. I'm just going to delete my Instagram, and some filmmakers are like, just so you know, when I'm casting a movie with some producers, they hand me a sheet with the amount of collective followers I have to get of the cast that I cast, she recalled. Wow, so if you delete your Instagram and lose those followers, understand that they're the kinds of people I need to cast around you. It's a really confusing line to walk. Maya, whose mother is actress Uma Thurman. Oh, so this is like a Nepo baby through and through. And she's even being told, hey, like, it used to be who you know, how you got into Hollywood, but now it's how many people know you about how you get into Hollywood. That's kind of ass backwards, because the films used to be a vehicle in order to get eyeballs on a person, but now they've got to reverse engineer this. This is okay. I think in some ways a celebrity is someone who has their personality, and the goblet of personnel is what is the draw. And what I always wanted to be was an actor where the work is the draw, not the personhood. But the industry keeps changing, and you have to change with it and understand that all these things are getting blurred. Well, yeah, exactly. The Stranger Things star said. Oh, she's in Stranger Things? I never watched Stranger Things. Don't really care to either. But yeah. Here's the thing, yeah, the industry has changed, and now they're prioritizing these types of stupid metrics, and has it changed for the better? Yeah, exactly. You used to hire people based on their talent and based on their ability, and now you just hire them because people like how they look in a bikini? When her dad was attending the Berlin Film Festival this week to promote Blue Moon, latest collaboration with Richard Linklater, Ethan told reporters that he meets so many young actors who think they can have a career by drinking protein shakes and going to the gym. Well, yeah, they can be disposable henchmen that get beat up probably by your daughter in her next action film, or other similarly built young actresses. So yeah, potentially. I feel for these people. It's really hard, he said, according to Variety. Sometimes I'll be setting a movie up and someone will say, oh, you should cast Susie. I'm like, who's she? She has 10 million followers. I'm like, okay, cool. Has she acted before? No, but, and you're like, wow, so this is going to help me, help get the movie made? This is crazy. The 4-time Oscar nominee, they recalled his confusion when confronted by the news of the acting careers could be affected by follower counts on social media. So if I don't have this public-facing platform, I don't have a career, and if I get more followers, I might get the parts. What? I wish I could meet Philip Seymour Hoffman like I did when I was 18, because it's a much more substantive and enjoyable life, he continued. I mean, go to the gym if you want to, but that doesn't make you Robert De Niro. It's not great because he has a six-pack. If the part calls for it, he'll do it, and that's awesome. But he's so much more than that. Well, yeah, exactly. And oh shit, I actually thought that was like an old picture of, Ethan and Uma, but I mean, never once in my life when I've seen like Uma Thurman have I, well, actually kind of, I would like to hear her insight as to what her inspiration behind playing Poison Ivy was, but like I've never really wanted to hear the off-the-cuff opinions on Twitter of Ethan Hawke on anything, like it's kind of harkening back to that old Dave Chappelle skit, like, oh god, where's Ja Rule when we need him? It's the thing with celebrities, man, like the less you hear about them, the better, but apparently that's not what's being prioritized in Hollywood. But I take a look at what's going around in Hollywood, and the fact that they're prioritizing that and not prioritizing talent kind of paints the rosy picture as to why Hollywood is on fire the way that it is. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I'm Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.